Okay, Rabbi, good evening. We're getting close to the Pesach holiday, so I want to tell you something interesting. A friend of mine just called me the other day, yesterday, and he said a question about the holiday. He's moving from one house to another over here in this area, leaving his little house, going to a big house, right? An upgrade, shidrug. So the thing is that over there in the new house, he's not there yet. He didn't move yet, but they're doing construction there. They're building, all kinds of things, whatever. So the question is, are they allowed to do construction on the holiday? This is the question, right? The workers are all goyim. There's no Jewish workers there. So, but the contractor is a Jew. You understand? So the question is, are they allowed to do work on the holiday? What about Shabbat? What about Yom Tov? What about Chol HaMoed? All these things, right? So the truth is, I wasn't 100% sure. These halachot are sometimes hard to remember. So I looked it up today. I went into the Shulchan Aruch. So what's going on there? So in the laws of Shabbat, it says there like this, right? That if a person is building a house or doing some construction, whatever, things like this, and it's, it's like outdoors, like outside, things which are visible to people. People see what's going on. It's not in the house of the goy. So things like that, you're not allowed to tell the goy to do this on Shabbat. So same thing also applies to Yom Tov. Yom Tov and Shabbat is the same thing, mostly, for most halachot, right? It's the same thing. So therefore, right, the rule is Yom Tov and Shabbat, even if the goy wants to do, he says, let me do it. He's a contractor, So, he gets paid, I don't know, what's that, once a year, whatever it is. He's doing it for himself. But still, it's not allowed. Why? Because people see, and they think, this Jew, he told he's going to work, for him on Yom Tov and Shabbat because of Mait Ain. So this is the reason. So that's why it says in Shulchan Aruch, you're not allowed to. So therefore, right, the rule is Shabbat and Yom Tov, you're not allowed to to have the goy building for you in a house or whatever it is, construction. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. But when is that? That's only when it's in the city, in the town. But if it's outside somewhere, where there's nobody there, very, 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 very like lonely place, very deserted place, there you're allowed to. If it's outside the city. But in the city, in the town, of course, we go park as a part of the town, right? New York City, right? So therefore, right, I cannot do over here things like this. So why? Because people know, they see, the house. They say, oh yeah, this belongs to this guy. Yeah, he's doing work on Yom Tov on Shabbat. Mait Ain. Looks like he's hiring the goyim. Right. So there, the truth is, right? They will not go there. So what does that mean? That if the Jew is doing, if the goy is doing in his house something, some work for you, right? And nobody sees it, it's okay. Things like this. You know what I mean? But construction is like, something which is, on the ground. So it's not in his house, in the goy's house, so it's different, right? Not the same thing. So therefore it's not allowed. Okay, whatever. Now the question is also, what about Chol HaMoed, right? Chol HaMoed is also another question. So, I wasn't really sure what the halacha is. I looked it up over there, looked at the laws of Chol HaMoed. So unfortunately, right, I found also Chol HaMoed is not allowed. You're not allowed to tell the goy. It says in the laws of Chol HaMoed, whatever you can't do yourself, you cannot tell the goy to do also. That's what it says in the Shulchan Aruch. So therefore, right, since you can't do building yourself on Chol HaMoed, there are some certain melachot that you're allowed to do on Chol HaMoed, like driving your car, no problem, Who's going to tell you anything about driving your car? There are certain there's labors that you're allowed to do. You're allowed to cook on Chol HaMoed for sure, no question. There's a lot of things you're allowed to do, but you cannot on Chol HaMoed do building, construction. So unless it's a mitzvah, right? Something a mitzvah. Like let's say you're building Bet Knesset. I'm not talking about that. That's a mitzvah. But here we're not talking about a mitzvah. Just you're building a house for yourself. It's not really a mitzvah. So therefore, right? Unless you're talking about Eretz Israel, maybe that's a different story. But for sure, right over here, right outside of Eretz Israel, there's no mitzvah to build a house there, or whatever. So therefore, even though it's a nice thing to have a nice home, it's beautiful. Baruch Hashem, Ashrei Yoshev Betecha, it's good to have your own house to dwell. It's very nice for your family, but it's not really a mitzvah, per se. So therefore, the rule is, right, that you're not allowed to tell the goy also to do construction for you on Chol HaMoed. So that's what I told him. I said, you have to let them rest for 8 days, Huh? Bet Knesset can be mutar, right, in certain cases, because they have to hurry up to build it, otherwise they have no place to daven, they have no place to play, so it's different, it's a mitzvah. But a house is not really a mitzvah, there's no mitzvah to build a house,
But by law, they can work Saturday and Sunday too, because neighbors don't want to listen
Okay, that's something else. No, there may be certain things that they can do. There may be certain things they can do on Sunday. Like let's say something which is not doesn't make noise. Indoors. Whatever. Right. Building inside. So it's not making a balagan, not making noise. Whatever. That's a different thing. But I'm talking according to halakha. You're talking about according to the law or whatever, the ordinances of the city, of the town, whatever. That's a different story. That's also something else, right? But anyway, right? That's the point. So I told them, I said, you have to rest for 8 days. What can you do, right? There's no other way. So, the thing is that you have to tell them, listen, don't work on those days. Tell them. Don't just let them do whatever they want, these goyim, You have to tell them, I don't want you to work. And if you see them working, you're walking by there, you see them, tell them, stop, please. Don't work. Go home. And take a rest, right? That's what you have to tell them. You have to tell them to stop if you see them working. That's the way it is. Okay. So that's regarding this question, right? Also, regarding the laws of Pesach, also I want to discuss something else, which is when we're doing the Haggadah, right, at night, it's going to be this year, Monday night and Tuesday night, Haggadah, right? 2 nights, right? So we're doing Haggadah twice. So there's a mitzvah, to do Hesebah on the Haggadah. What's Hesebah? That means reclining, Reclining like this, right? So there are rules about this, and first you have to understand, what's the reason why we do Hesebah on the Haggadah? Because it's a cherut, right? It's freedom, emancipation. We were emancipated. So in those days, today, by the way, this is not like that. It's not like that. But in those days, people who were like, free, emancipated, chashuv people, they would recline, they would sit on the couch, not like the chairs that we have today in the dining room. They didn't sit like that for meals. They sat on the couch. And they were like this, like reclining. So this was like chashuv to do that, to eat like that in those days. So therefore, the rabbis were metaken. They made takana that you have to also do hesebah. Why? Because to show that you're a free person. You're not a slave anymore to Achashverosh or to Paro or whatever, right? Or to Biden, whatever, right? Nobody, right? You're not nobody's slave. It doesn't matter who it is, right? We're free people, right? We think we're free people. I'm not so sure. Ask Bibi. I'm not sure if we're free or not. I'm not really so sure. But anyway, right? We have to show ourselves at least that we're free, So we do hesebah. It's a mitzvah. But the truth is, right, that you're not obligated to do hesebah all night, like this in the Haggadah, because that's like 3-4 hours could be, sometimes. It depends how fast you are, right? Some people finish 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. There are some people who go like 6 hours, so it's a little bit too much, it's too much a little bit. Why? Because you have to finish the Haggadah before Chatzot, before midnight. Right? That's a mitzvah. You have to do the afikoman before midnight and also the Hallel, everything, the Arba Kosot. So really, the truth is that a person shouldn't go too long with the Haggadah. You know what I mean? Make sure that you, by midnight, by it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, midnight, right? Chatzot.
12:50 something.
It's whatever. It's 1 o'clock. So the point is, right, that you're right. So right, you want to make sure that you finish everything by then. So you should do the seudah not so late. Do the seudah like let's say the latest 10:30, 11. And then you can finish the Haggadah by 12:30 to 12:40, 12:40, quarter to 1. You can finish everything, the whole thing, right, from beginning to end. That's what you want to do. So, right, some people go long, some people go short. But the point is like this, right? You don't have to sit all night like this, Hesebah. There's a mitzvah to do as much as you can. But the truth is that the real obligation for Hesebah is for what? First of all, for eating the matzah, right? When you eat the matzah, you have to do Hesebah. If you didn't do Hesebah, you have to eat again. Can you imagine? So it's a very important part of the mitzvah, right? That's what the Shulchan Aruch says. You didn't do? Okay, eat again one more time, right? Another kazait. Can you imagine? It's not so easy to do that, right? So make sure that you do. Don't forget, So people, what they do? You have to have like some kind of a arm on your chair, to recline on it, or bring some pillows or some cushions, to recline. That's what they do in the good families. They know already what has to be done. That's what they do. They bring. So the thing is, right? The hesebah you have to do when you're eating the matzah. Number one. Also the kricha, right? Which is the same thing as the matzah. Which is the matzah and the maror together, sandwich, right? Kricha, right? You have to have hesebah. What about maror? Maror doesn't know hesebah, right? Maror, because maror is bitter. It's not freedom. Right? There's no cherut there. It's bitterness, So therefore, maror, there's no hesebah. What about karpas? No hesebah for karpas, right? No. Just for the matzah, for the kricha, and also for the arba kosot, right? For the 4 cups of wine, you have to do hesebah. Each one. The first cup of wine is kiddush, right? So also for kiddush you have to do hesebah. So you say, right, Baruch Atah Hashem, Borei Pri HaGefen, right? And then you sit down, right? You recline and you drink like this, right? Reclining. Make sure you do that, right? Otherwise you have to drink again. Same thing, right? You have to make sure you do Heseba. So now the question is, right? Also when you do the Afikoman, in the end, right? You get one more kazait of matzah in the end. When you finish your meal, you have to eat one more kazait of matzah for the Afikoman. Also that requires Heseba. You have to do Heseba. So these things require Heseba. The rest of it doesn't really require, the rest of it. No karpas, no maror, right? All the other things, they don't require Heseba. So make sure at least you do Heseba for those things. This is crucial, Now the question is like this, right? Which side do you do Heseba? Right side, left side, front, back, right? Like this, like you're lying in your bed. Which is the proper way, right? So the truth is that the Chazal say, it's a machloket in the Rishonim, right? Over there, they say that you shouldn't go to the right side. And also you shouldn't go to the back. Why? Because this can make can make a person choke. That opens up the windpipe, So when you do a Heseba towards the right side, the windpipe is open. Also in the back, same thing. So you could go, a person, the food goes down the wrong pipe, and the person could choke on it. He has to call ambulance, He has to call Hatzalah. Instead of Heseba, he's doing Hatzalah. You know what I mean? So this is not what we want, you know what I mean? So make sure, right, that you're doing it on the left side. You have to do Heseba only on the left, not on the right. Sakana, danger. It's right on the right side, right? Only on the left side. Right? Doesn't matter whether you're lefty or right-handed, right? Doesn't matter. It's all the same. Whether you're right-handed, left-handed, it's all the same. You have to do it on the left side because of sakana. That's the way it is, right? So make sure you do Heseba the right way, so this way you don't get hurt. Another thing I want to discuss is, what about women, right? Do they have to do Heseba? So Talmud says women don't do Heseba, right? So they explain, the Mefarshim, the reason why women don't do Heseba is because it's not kavod to the husband, that the woman should sit like this, cherut, like I'm free from my husband, I don't have to do anything for him, like this is it's chutzpah, that's the idea. That's why it says in the Talmud, women shouldn't do Heseba. It's not kavod for the husband to see like that, his wife. This is the thing, So the truth is that, but it says there also in the Talmud that if she's isha chashuva, then she has to do Heseba. What does it mean chashuva? She's an important woman, prominent woman. You know what that means? Like, let's say she's a businesswoman, making money. She's a millionairit, Oh, millionaire. So she doesn't need her husband, she's independent. You know what I mean? She can, buy him and sell him, her husband. You know what I mean? She has more money than the husband has. It could be. Nowadays, by the way, it's very common. The women have more money than the men. This is the way it is today, They have better education, better degree, better job. Many times. This is the way it is now. It's a different generation. It's not what your grandmother was. Today it's something else, So the women today are, they do business, they have good jobs. They're doctors and lawyers and this and that and politicians and God knows what. Right? So a woman like that is chashuv. So she doesn't need her husband, so she doesn't, there's no inyan for her to do kavod for her husband. She doesn't need her husband. Okay. She doesn't have. So therefore, right, they say if she's chashuv, she has to do Heseba. But now, right, comes the poskim in our times, in our generation, right, the Kaf HaChaim, and Maran Ba'avadia Vashalom also, they write that nowadays the women should do Heseba. They should. Why? Why is that? Because today, the husband doesn't care about this. If she sits like this, the woman, for 2 seconds and eats her matzah, does it bother you? If your wife sits like this, and eats her matzah? What is it going to bother you? You're going to get offended by that? So therefore today, the culture is different. So therefore the rule is, nowadays the women, they should do Heseba. But since from the Talmud, they're not required to do Heseba, so therefore if they didn't do it, if they forgot, they don't have to do it again, like the men have to do. But the men have to do it again. This is the difference. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen ve'Amen. Rabbi Hananiah ben Ekasha omer, הציל הקדוש ברוך הוא לעם ישראל, לפיכך ירבה להם תורה ומצוות, שנאמר אדוני חפץ, למען צדקו יגדיל תורה וידיר.